All right. Are we live? I'm not too sure yet, but first time doing this. So whoever's here, thank you for joining me on my first live Q&A on YouTube Live. Um, I'm the Impulsive Thinker, Andre Brisson, and I've been having this YouTube channel for a few months now. And a lot of you have been asking quite a few questions via email and comments. And I appreciate everyone reaching out. And I thought I'd do a live Q&A here and help people out. So bear with me. This is the first time me, myself, and the team are playing around with this live YouTube. And put your comments and questions in the chat, and I'll answer the questions as best as I can and when I can. And now I'm just trying to find a way to. There we go. Pop out chat. Now we're cooking. Okay. I'm also playing with a new teleprompter, so I should be eye contact because that makes it a lot better for people. So again, thank you very much for joining me here today. And we'll go with the first question. And it was submitted to me via email from @cool username @2278. And the question was, and I think this is a great opening question to answer, is what's your opinion on ADHD? Would you say it's a net positive or negative when it comes to all facets of life? This is a very, very common question and a very typical it's a constant conversation I have with people. So what's my opinion on ADHD? I think it's great. I don't think it's as problematic as most people think. I don't see it as a challenge. Well, maybe not so far. I like ADHD. I think it makes me unique. It makes me different, and I'm not part of the norm. For me, I'm a nonconformist, so the ADHD brain wiring is completely different than everyone else, and I really like that fact. Now, is it a net positive or net negative? The one thing I want to make clear here is no matter what brain type you are, neurotypical, neurodivergent, no matter what, everyone has their net positives and net negatives, even the neurotypicals. The only difference between the neurotypicals and the neurodivergent, being ADHD, autism, bipolar, dyslexia, dysgraphia, and other things, is that our brain is not wired for today's world. Society is not very, it's not that they're accepting, it's just we do it completely different than what's the norm. And most people are not comfortable with discomfort or something new. So I've said many, many times that your strengths can become weaknesses. So a positive, if overutilized or underutilized, can become a negative / weakness. So that's why I don't think ADHD is more net positive or net negative than anyone else. I just think we have more of a challenge in society to be able to work the way we work best. And I think that's the biggest thing. So even in the Colby world, in the personality world, the brain wiring difference world, if it's not socially acceptable or the societal norm, people are going to frown on that and push against you. So, black sheep of the family. And what happens there, it becomes a smaller community, a smaller group of people that will understand you. And that is what, the challenge with the ADHD is finding the environment that's right for you, that's accepting of you, and understands that our quote unquote idiosyncrasies are unique to us and provides value to the team, to society, and to your social to the social realm of things. So, is it challenging? Yes, I think it's very challenging in the sense that it's just not widely understood and it's not widely accepted that our inattention is actually us constantly scanning. It's just the world decided that we must have eye contact. Eye contact every time we talk. If you don't have eye contact, you are going to lose attention and you're not paying attention. You don't respect me. Therefore, you're bad. Go in the corner. Or you're fired. Okay. But when I'm not paying attention, quote unquote, I'm scanning the environment. In the old days, we needed that to protect the tribe and the community. But today it's just been decided by a bunch of people. I don't know who or how or for what reason they're doing it. It's not acceptable. And that's the downfall of the school system. School system really has a bunch of these rules and procedures that doesn't follow our brain pattern, our brain structure, and therefore that's the experiences we have with other people is actually what's negative about it, not the ADHD brain itself. So that was a long way to get to the point that the negative is actually how people perceive us versus our ADHD brain. So once you understand and take ownership of your brain structure and your unique talents with your ADHD brain, then you can take over the world and control your environment. And that could be your desk, the way you do things, how, and then having that explanation and vocabulary to explain to people how you work differently. I'm finding people a lot more receptive. Now, do they believe you? I don't know. Honestly, who really cares? I just know how I work well, and I'm trying very well and horribly hard to fit my entrepreneurial journey around those abilities. So thank you, Cool Username 2278 for that question. And it's a common one. Dana Weinberger had a question, and it's how do I stay on task? That is a constant challenge for the ADHD brain because we like to change issues, tasks, projects, or our attention wanders. But the reality is, why does our brain want new information or new distraction? So the question will be, are you doing something you truly enjoy, are interesting, that's novel, that's competitive, that's a part of your passion and urgent? So a lot of times, question the task that you're doing. Now, we all have to do tasks that we have no choice to do. They're boring, they're dull, just day-to-day stuff. We need to do it. So, ADHD is an explanation, not an excuse. So a lot of times to stay on task, that's why I developed the shit list. Okay. My weekly planner, it's a little half paper here. Okay. So I write down the 3 top things I need to focus on during the week. And every day I write down the top 3 things that needs to be done those 3 days. And I really stick to just those 3 things. And if I have time in the day, then I can do something else, or I just call it quits, because honestly, doing those 3 things, ADHD brain can get a lot more done than most people in a day. And celebrate, go home, have fun. So that's how I plan my week, is with the shit list. But I also have my daily focus maximizer. Okay. So this is a conscious sit down every morning. I look at my shit list, see what I had planned. Don't just because we wrote down we have a plan means we need to get it done, which is also, I think that has a lot to do with our environment as we grow up, that we get this self-rule of whatever we commit to, we must get it done no matter what. And we keep thinking it's letting other people down, but it's kind of a rule that was created by us to satisfy someone in our past. So this is what I had planned. It's not written in stone. Sometimes I'll usually write this in pencil so I can erase it. But when I come to the morning for the day, this is just for the day. I write down the 3 things I need to focus on today. And I have to get those done before I do anything else. And I have it, it's a half page, so I can put it in my logbook, which I carry with me all the time, right? So actually I got my shit list is in the page, but it's also, I can have my focus maximizer in my daily logbook. So it's always in front of me every time I write down a note, because remember, working memory for ADHD brain is very small. That's why writing down everything in one spot that you can find every time, you can write down to not forget it. Then you can transfer it somewhere later, but at least you can dump it out of your head, have more mental energy to take care of other things. So I got the 3 things I want to focus on today. Any communications I need to make, again, 3. And I got additional notes for whatever reason. And remember, the additional notes on the bottom is just not more additional tasks to do. Guilty, I still do it, but it's a habit you want to get out to. But this is the thing. It's creating a habit to stay on task, okay? planning out your week before gives you an idea of what you're planning for the week. It settles down your brain, less overwhelmed, not knowing what to do. Whatever comes, whatever comes in is going to be important. We're afraid of tangents. We just have that brain. So let's settle it down, say, this is what I had planned. Okay. And then every morning we say, this is what we really need to do today. Okay. That just helps you to no longer have options during the day. I wrote down 3 things. I must go to those 3 things until they're done. Then your brain has less overwhelm. And if people are coming in attacking your time and your mental energy, and you can say, not part of my top 3, I'm not going to answer that until these are done, or they can be scheduled for another time. So having that said, you got your shit list, you got your focus maximizer. There's another part that's really, really important, and then that's the environment. So you need to control your environment to be able to do tasks. So if they're boring, shit-ass tasks that you have to focus, for myself, I'm able to hyper-focus on stuff I don't like. I think everyone can. So everyone can do stuff they don't like. So I just group it to 1 hour of really painful work, and I just hyper-focus and get it done. But when I do that, I'm in the office with less distractions. There's nothing there. I turn my phone off. I turn all the notifications off of my computer if I've got to use my computer. Or everyone just turn the screens off. The door's closed, so there's no reason for a distraction. Okay? I even got a whiteboard return on my desk here. So if something comes in my head I need to take care of, instead of jumping out of my chair and take off and then come back 4 hours later, I can just jot it down on my whiteboard, or my logbook. It's trapped because a lot of us are afraid that idea or thing I must remember is lost. So we keep running it in our heads while we forget other things. So it's trapped. I can move on. And then once those boring stuff is done, I can look over and transfer my notes or now deal with those things without being distracted. So they're all little tricks. And it's environment control is a big thing to control ourselves. Because remember, the ADHD brain has no filter in the front. I forget what the numbers are. They say the brain takes in 100 million to whatever that big ass number is for amount of information coming in. And and then it only deals with 10,000 or 100,000. The brain parses out the rest. That's a neurotypical. The ADHD brain actually doesn't filter out a lot of that. It takes it all in. That's why a lot of times, that's why a lot of times we get overwhelmed, burnt out, or we just start losing all the energy because I believe, I'm not too sure if I really read science about this, but this is what I'm understanding is since the prefrontal cortex is not filtering a lot of that information out, we have to cognitively filter it out. So it's an extra effort that we got to say, no, that's not important. That's not important. I could ignore it or I need to take care of that. So that's why we get loud noise, lights, too much action going on around you without a lot of control. We can get overwhelmed, and you understand if you're an ADHD brain, you get that feeling. It's just like, feeling small, your body's all tense, your emotional regulation gets affected, and then either we blow up or we shut down. And that's when we a lot of times need to get up and leave the environment. That's why being in nature is kind of cool because there's not a lot of overwhelming thing. And being a city and a town, cars, noise, people, ding-dongs, lights. I mean, ding-dongs by sounds, not necessarily idiots or dum-dums, but you know what I mean. That's all being absorbed by our brain without us noticing, and is draining our energy. So environment control is very big. Sometimes I got different areas of the office, even at home, for me to do different tasks where I need to think, because that transition of, you're in this environment, the brain goes, okay, that means you're going to do this type of thing. What's good about the neurotypicals, they can be in the same spot to do different types of different tasks, and they can do that. The transition challenge with the ADHD brain from one task to another requires change, and we can't flip on a switch. It's got to be a transition. So physically getting up, going to get coffee, to come back is a transition way. Your brain's going, you're doing something else, becomes a routine. Going to a physical, different location, part in your house or your office. Like for me, I have 3 different areas where I read. One is thinking reading. The other one doesn't matter what I'm reading. And then the fourth one is if I just want to get out of my office and just like relax and chill out. I got different spots in the office. Right now, I'm in my little recording studio where I need to be, there's just whiteboards and nothing else on the wall, no bookshelves near me, less distraction. So if I really need to focus, the door's closed. Everyone knows the rule. Door closed mean Andre can't be disturbed. And that really helps reduce my distraction and it's a trigger to my brain going, you are down for the count and you're going to pay attention for a long time. So those is how I do stay on tack. And I don't know if Dana's on, but I hope that helps with your question. If you, while I'm rambling, people, if you've got more questions, just put it down in the chat there. And yeah, Dana, you're welcome. I appreciate you joining me today. And this is fun, and hope anyone can benefit from this. Another question from Zelia Brisson, just to say, hey, yes, I'm related to her. She's my daughter. She's been on the podcast a few times. Do you like having kids with ADHD? At first, people thought it was pretty funny and silly question, but this is a valid question because this is a conversation I've had with a lot of parents, or I'm observed. And myself, if my kids were not ADHD, I'd probably be a little bored because the impulsivity is really fun to observe and watch. Does it come with its own challenges and differences? Yeah. But I know neurotypical kids come with their own challenges and successes as well. But in the end, I don't care if you're ADHD, autistic, neurotypical, quick start, fact finder. I'm all about the unique person. So if that person is uniquely that way and that makes them happy and they're fun to be around, and you can actually see when people are in their prime, or not their prime, but they're in their unique ability, they're in their unique self, and they're being their true self authentically. It's a beautiful thing to see. So no matter what your child is doing or different, it's different from you, it's different than what society expects. I'm not taking away from stuff, be polite, cordial, and respectful of other people, but to shut down parts of you so you can fit into everyone else or to some social norm of a rule made up hundreds of years ago, it makes very little sense to me. So, yes, I do like having kids who have ADHD. At the same time, it'd be boring actually if they weren't. So, but maybe that's my ADHD brain saying so or whatnot. But I do know my wife does love my kids with ADHD, and I hope that answers your question, Zelia. So I'm not too sure how many people. All right, I got another question here. How do you balance self-care with your daily responsibilities? Oh, wow, sucker punch. Thank you very much. This is a very common challenge for ADHD brains to have, balance and self-care. So if I'm talking to a lot of people who are diagnosed late in life, even so much as in their early 20s while they're in college or university, the way we were treated, the way we are expected to keep up with society, to do things in ways that we are not wired for, we've neglected self-care for a long time. And based on the podcast I had with Zelia, actually, we talked about self-care, the difference between a teenage kid and an adult entrepreneur. Self-care, I think it's for everyone too, not just ADHD brains or neurodivergent. Self-care was always to take time off for other people. That's kind of like what I was raised. And I was convinced that as long as I was taking care of other people, doing what everyone else wants, I'm taking care of myself as well. And that's self-care. Because if I do anything just for me, I'm just a selfish person. That was me. So I don't know if there's a lot of people are resonating with this or not, but that's what and I neglected self-care for a lot of cases. There's a lot of cases. I just read a chat and it's distracting me, so I just got to get back to, sorry about that. the self-care thing. So I'm almost 50 years old, and in just the last 3 years, I started to work on self-care. What I mean by that? Well, I love woodworking. I love playing music. I love playing live music. I like doing different things. I was a pilot for a while. Now I'm a scuba diver. There's a lot of stuff I really like to do, but I would say as long as everyone else was taken care of first, then I could do my stuff, which meant not done many, many times. And I put myself last most of the time. So the last 3 years, what I started to do was I was actually saying no. I love my family. I love hanging out with my friends. I love, even work. I would sacrifice my self-care for my company, my entrepreneurial journey. So I started saying, no, I am actually going hiking. And if no one wants to join me, that's fine. I'm going. And I actually did that. No, I'm actually scheduling. I will do woodworking this weekend and I will do it. So how do I get to do that? Well, some people think this is sad, this is ridiculous, because I started scheduling my weekends to do stuff that I wanted to do. Yes, I put appointments in the calendar. I filled out my focus maximizer. I even got a spot on my shit list that says family, personal, leisure stuff to do for the week. It's a habit we have to break. Now, the other thing too is if it's scheduled, I'll do it. Or it reminds me, because if I leave it, I got in my head during the week, I want to do these 2,000 things. Come the weekend, well, wait a minute, something's a little more interesting right now. I'll do that first and do that. And then at the end, it's like, I didn't do anything that I wanted to. Well, that's kind of poo-poo on me. So I start scheduling it. People laughed at me. Well, good for you, neurotypicals. Awesome. You guys are great at that. You're awesome. Good. Congratulations. But I had to break a cycle. I had to break a habit. And guess what? I want to do this on the weekend. Try and remember it, keep it in my head. Working memory sucks. Remember, executive functioning differences. So since I put it in my calendar to do it on the weekend, or as a reminder, they'll pop up Saturday morning, I don't have to remember it anymore. Free your mind, energy, a lot less mental energy burnt up. So I have to schedule to have self-care. It's a new habit. It's been 3 years I've been working on it. I got lots to go, but I've come a long ways. So, but ultimately what had to happen was I had to give myself permission to do stuff that I wanted to do. And I'd have to put my choice over other people's, because I'm not saying that people are telling me, no, you can't do it because you're selfish. It was the automatic reflex that I had in the past to just do what everyone's doing, because that was the only way. That's the way I was raised. That's the way the world was ingrained to me. So self-care, we got to do a conscious effort. You can start by scheduling your time. The guilt that you're going to feel for the first couple times, many times, years, months is there, and it's going to be valid and true. You're going to feel guilty, but you got to remember the ones who love you, the ones who will support you, either they'll understand you or they'll start going with you. And you have the right to take care of yourself. And that is a really great way to rejuvenate, re-energize your mental energy, and do not do anything related to your companies or your business. It's got to be pure fun, pure just you don't have to think about anything complex. Even if the stuff you're doing hobby-wise or self-care-wise is complex, it's not the same as work. It's a different stress. It brings you enjoyment, and you're going to start feeling differently and better. So to help you with your self-care on the weekend, start putting it in your shit list. And your shit list you can download on the link in this live YouTube feed, which will also be available after our live YouTube session is done. But you can, there's a link in the show notes to download the shit list. And if you start using it for a couple months, you reply back to that same email. I'll even share with you my focus maximizer. And we got a little video for you too on how I use it. So is there any other questions? All right, I got another one. I find it hard to explain to others my ADHD. Any advice on ways I can help others understand? First of all, you need to understand yourself that ADHD is not an excuse, it's an explanation. So, yes, a lot of people misunderstood our mannerisms. I know I've said a lot of stuff in the past, emotional dysregulation, how we do things is perceived as improper, rude, inconsiderate. Um, but that's the past. Now that I understood it, I explained to everyone what was going on. I wasn't looking for forgiveness or justifying what happened in the past. It was an explanation. And now it makes more sense. The best way for me, when I was talking about ADHD to people, I explained ADHD to people. It's a brain wiring difference. We don't have a filter. The prefrontal cortex doesn't really filter well like everyone else. By the time we realize that what we just said is wrong, our brain goes, "Oh, I don't think you should have said that." So let me start. One of the ways I explain this is I think of something, it comes out. All right. And when I say that, I said that comes out before my brain goes, "Oh, wait a minute, too late. That was not a good idea." So for the neurotypicals, the brain goes, "Well, check. Let's talk about this. Good idea, bad idea, good idea. Keep going. Bad idea. Modify it or don't say it at all." The ADHD brain is always kind of an afterthought. It's kind of like, boom. Oh, I think that was not the right thing to say. Oops, too late. So that's why for me, I say people do not, if you ask me something or something happens, my first initial intensive or impulsive reaction facially, ignore it. After 5 seconds, that'll be my proper reaction. And having that explanation to people going, okay, ignore the first thing he says or does or whatever, then we'll see after what, by the time the brain catches up, then we can deal with it. If he's still upset, well, he's upset. If it's like, oh crap, sorry if that came out a little too quick, here's the issue or here's the result, like whatever. It's an explanation. And the one thing I gained that it really helps for people to understand. The thing is, most people will want to understand, but the fact is we want them to listen first. And a lot of times people stop listening is because it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I have ADHD, therefore I can't do this or I have that, blah, blah, blah. So labels are great to have. Labels to me are there for explanations. Is for me, ADHD label for me is I get it. I understand how my brain works and how it's different. But I don't go around saying I have ADHD, therefore I can't do this, I can do that. Or my ADHD is the super powerhouse, which I got a problem with. But if you can explain the differences of the ADHD brain without using the 4 letters ADHD, people are going to understand that better because they're not going to trigger off ADHD, oh, excuse, or bad thing. I have a working memory limitation. Therefore, that's why I need to take notes. Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, or the other person I'm talking to, I can't remember things well in my head and I got nothing to write down. Do you mind sending me an email to remind me so I won't forget this because I want to serve you, I want to help you? Okay. That versus, hey, dude, I got ADHD, just email me because I can't remember crap. So you need to understand yourself what ADHD is and the brain differences for you to explain it effectively. And that's what I'm seeing. When someone says, oh, it's my ADHD doing this, or my kids, or even people around me that know me say, oh, it's your ADHD. It's like, no, that's not my ADHD. I kind of shot back quickly because you triggered me. What you said just triggered me. My impulsivity, my brain didn't inhibits differently. Therefore, it came out too quick. But in reality, you triggered me. It's not my ADHD. It's not ADHD. ADHD is not a disease. It's just an explanation of a brain wiring difference. So I hope that helps whoever, if there's any other questions related to that, but explaining it and not treating it as a disease or disorder. I think anyone in the world, if a strength is overutilized or underutilized, that strength can become a disorder. So when things become a disorder is when it's affecting your day-to-day or your functioning at that time. So we got to keep that kind of stuff in mind. Did getting a diagnosis make it easier for you to manage your ADHD? Oh, by far, yes. For 44 years, I thought I sucked. I was the worst person in the world. I was misunderstood. I always knew that, but I was misunderstood because I was a crappy person. I actually fought my ADHD diagnosis because I looked at my psychiatrist. I said, there's no way 4 letters are going to explain my last 44 years of my life in detail. And once I researched and understood it, and I started to understand my reactions and the reason why, because a lot of the challenges I had is I know I reacted a certain way or I did something a certain way that offset people. I just didn't know why. You're lazy, you're dumb, you're stupid. That was the typical thing. Or for me, oh, thanks, you got the right answer or you got the result we wanted, but how you did it was completely wrong. Even though I got it right, even though I did what I was supposed to do, the how was done completely wrong. So now that I understood how that worked, how my brain works, even I'm starting to get a little frustrated by using the term managing my ADHD, but it's more about creating the right structure about my ADHD brain because the world doesn't really like impulsivity as much. The world doesn't really like that we're scanning the room or do not understand that I need to focus maybe on a nice little picture so I can hear and listen to you because I need to turn my ear. I'll turn it this way so we can get the mic. My ear has to go to the person who's talking so I can hear him better, and I got to look somewhere else so I can focus better, especially if there's background noise. But the people say you don't care, you're nonchalant, and it starts accusing things. So once I start to understand that stuff, especially the fidgeting. For me, the fidgeting is a great focusing tool. Okay, I got a little ball here. I got a scrunchy star. I got another ball here. And there's a bunch of other ones I can't find right now because they're laying all over the place. Rolling on my chair, constantly moving. Okay. I understand now fidgeting is an early warning system. Either I need to focus more or I'm in a situation that I'm not enjoying and maybe my impulsive mouth will run more. So by understanding the fidgeting requirements for my body, especially for a hyperactive person, it definitely helps you managing your ADHD or at least just understanding your reactions. And I look from what I really do a lot is I always identify the trigger that identified the trigger, and then identify the trigger that triggered the trigger that triggered the trigger. And I keep going back to getting to a little early warning system method that, hey, this could potentially go way off the rails. What can I do now to correct that? For me, my impulsivity is very, very severe. And my impulsivity at the same time is severe. So understand that those two are at the high end of the severity of this. I got to come up with systems and routines and early warnings and environment control and changes to keep my impulsivity going down, especially in an emotional dysregulation situation. Royce Michelle B., thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you joining. The question is, I recently discovered how symptoms of inattentive ADHD. Do you have tips around staying focused on tasks at hand? I touched on this a little bit earlier. My youngest daughter is inattentive. Remember, ADHD is an interest-based nervous system, not importance-based. The rest of the world is wired for motivation based on importance. If it's important to get done, I can do it. If it's important for my spouse, I can get it done. But the ADHD brain, it's kind of like, if it's not interesting, novel, challenging, urgent, or regarding a passion of mine, it's hard for me to focus where we focus to focus. To stay unfocused on hand, the question I ask the person now is it a task that you enjoy doing or is it not? If it's not a task you enjoy doing, you're going to have to create a little more scaffolding or a little more environment control to stay on it. Limit your distractions, your things that can distract you, your phone. Like I turn it off or I just put it in a different room. Like all the notifications on my computer are just off. I don't get any notifications popping up on my screen. That's more for me. I discovered with time, even with emails, my emails is usually shut down. I got no emails on my phone, work emails on my phone anymore. I just limit the distractions and it's environment control. So if you can control your environment by reducing your distractibility things, that's one way. Also, take an assessment of your own things. Like pay attention to what distracts you. Is it art, or is it something in your, like for me, it was a shelf of books right near arm's length, where I can say, oh, for my engineering company. Oh, wait a minute. I had a question 2 weeks ago. I forgot. I'll just pull that book out now. And then I stopped doing the project I was on. I removed that bookshelf. The first thing I did is I moved it to the other side of the office where I had to do a big walk to do it, even to the point now where I turn the bookshelf away so I don't see the books. I just see the back side of the bookshelf. So I'm taking a lot of visual distractions away. I'm taking a lot of the even I got the AirPods noise canceling. So if I really need to focus, I put them in so I can reduce any audible distractions. What is causing you to get off task is what you need to identify. So what is that? What's triggering that as well? So especially if it's a boring task or you have no interest, it's not challenging, novel, or what you can do is say, hey, maybe I can do this in 5 minutes and then make it competitive about yourself. Or sometimes what I find is, the next 30 minutes, this is all I'm doing, because now your brain knows you have an out. So if your brain knows it's an out, you can focus a little easier. But if you say I have all day to do it, I don't think I have to explain to the ADHD brain what will happen there. So sometimes limiting your time and then maybe just saying, I'll get as much done as I can in 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour or an hour, and then be okay with not finishing it all, because that's the other thing we'll get trapped in, is a hyper-focus to get everything done. Michelle Royce, sorry if I messed up your name there, but I guess another question would be, is this only on tasks that you find boring, mundane, or is it also tasks that you're very interested in? Because if it's a task that you're interested in or a project, now you got to look at why you're being distracted again. Did you hit a point in the task or the project? Like for me, when I'm woodworking, I will procrastinate and delay or get distracted, do something else that might be a little easier and quicker, because I'm hitting a part of the project where I need to sit down and figure out, and I'm not too sure how to tackle it. So instead of trying to figure it out or try it, oh, that corner needs sanding, that corner needs cleaning, or that's right, I wanted to put a rack over there to do something, because sometimes having something done quicker activates our brain as well. So Royce Michelle B, I hope this helps you in your question there. How do you focus on achieving goals? Well, high achiever, I'm just a high achiever. I'm a driven person. And if I set my mind to it, I go. The thing is, though, is I usually have a lot of goals that I'm trying to tackle all at once. That goes down the burnout route, that causes a little interference and can confuse your team. But at the same time, is if I usually put my mind set on it, I write the goal down. And if we can have it written somewhere, so I got another whiteboard here on my quarterly goals. I got the 5 there that's constantly reminding me, which helps me stay focused on it and not start another one. Dan Sullivan, one of my business coaches, what he says, he's got a set amount of projects he's allowed to work on at one time. He cannot start a new one until another one is completed. That can help you stay focused. But in a way, you've got to keep your goals interesting, challenging, novel, interesting or urgent, and passion. But be careful with the urgency part, because for me, my brain kind of tricked me and kept everything urgent. So I was on the go, run. So yes, sometimes when things are urgent, we perk up. But when it becomes a default to get everything done, that's why we get accused of procrastination, doing everything at the last minute. Well, if it's a boring task, we're going to wait till the last minute. So there's some urgency to get it done. But then myself and a couple other people that I know very well with ADHD, high achieving growth mindset entrepreneurs, that urgency became a default. Reflecting back, I made sure I always had an appointment at 7 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't matter if it was 2 or 3 hours away from my home. I always had back-to-back meetings. I always make sure that I was on the go. But that was my brain tricking me to keep everything. For you to wake up on time, you're going to have to make sure you're urgent, because you get up, oh crap, I'm late, go, right? Or I'm back-to-back, I'm busy. That did not give any, like, even to the point where I had to start scheduling pee breaks or bathroom breaks, because I will go all day without going, because I was back to back. I kept things urgent. So that for you to focus on achieving goals, one, remember, working memory is not that great. Long-term memory we're fine with, but it's that working memory and the fact that we like to jump on different tasks, especially, remember, the ADHD brain's time frame is now and not now. So the not now part, which is hard for us to see or visualize. We can't feel the time, right? Future time, we can't feel it. Present time, we can feel it, we can live it. So when someone comes in with a new urgent thing, yeah, I'll do that now, because it's now. It's not like, oh, that project that's not now. What should I be doing down the road? That's why it's always visible on the wall, not in a book that I can't see. We just got to keep things visible, just like time. And we need to plan it out and start putting, little mini timelines so we can create our little urgency or challenges. But, if you want to achieve a goal, it's got to be written down. It's got to be visible so you can see regularly, and you just do it. There's no excuse. Now, if you got a goal that you keep postponing and not doing it, the next question will be, is it really something you want to achieve? And there's nothing wrong with taking a goal off the list if it's no longer valid or is never really relevant. It was just for whatever reason you wrote it. That was a tough thing for me to accept and learn, is it's okay to scratch off a goal that you set a while back because it's no longer valid. I trained myself to just say, if I had a goal, I need to achieve it. So make sure your goals are fun and it's something that you want to do, not someone else. And that's the biggest thing I learned, to go for entrepreneurial goals that were not mine. I got kicked in the rear so many times about it. And it took me 4 or 5 rounds to realize, it's like self-care. Do stuff that's interesting for you, because you can go all in and enjoy yourself. Another question is, do people with ADHD make good entrepreneurs? I've noticed a correlation. That is a very interesting comment. So yes, there is a lot of studies out there saying a high proportion of entrepreneurs have ADHD, and the people with ADHD own their job or is an entrepreneur. And I'm going to say most likely a lot of them are entrepreneurs because they couldn't fit anywhere else. Like myself, I started my engineering company because I want to create an environment that I would fit in, because I didn't fit in with the conventional, traditional engineering companies. Is the brain wired for it a little bit? Yeah, it supports the ADHD. But just because you have ADHD doesn't mean that you're an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur, especially the visionary growth mindset entrepreneur, it's a different wiring as well. It's how you are wired to take risks, how to deal with risk and change, okay? Many, many people with ADHD thrive working for other people. Why? Because there's a structure. ADHD thrives on structure, not rigidity, it's not like there need to be fully bureaucratic and systematic. They enjoy structure. Their brain likes structure. So someone can be working full-time at a job. They show up to work. They know exactly what to expect. They know they're supposed to do this. They're supposed to do that. That's structure. And people do very well. And the way they handle risk and uncertainty is different than an entrepreneur that's wired to deal with risk and uncertainty, right? Tomorrow I can go bankrupt. I'm okay with it. I just have an ability to just figure out how to make more money after, or, do whatever, or try something new. But I got the ADHD brain wiring, and I also have the visionary type entrepreneur wiring. And it's a different brain wiring. Because if you don't have the right, I'm trying to find the right word here. Like there's a lot of people who own their job, which are considered, they're an entrepreneur, but they own their job, may not like it because there's no structure. I thrive on not knowing what's going to happen next. And when it becomes too, structured or stable, I actually create my own problems. So I'm wired to be on chaos, working in chaos or constant change. And I'm good with that. And I know a lot of people who have ADHD do not like that. And that's not the way they are. So they like the structured world. I'm not saying it's easy for them to be in a structured environment, but not everyone's wired. But there is a correlation, but I'm not too sure if it's more about causation. But at the same time it depends on your ability and your not resistance, but how can you handle risk and not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow? And if you don't have the proper mindset or the proper structure environment around you, that can lead to burnout into mental health conditions. So I've seen a lot of people who started their own companies, try to grow it, but it's not for them. The constant unknown really eroded their mental health and their abilities to function, and that actually affected their mental health to burnout and then either losing money. So it really depends on the wiring of how you can handle risk. But it is, I wouldn't say makes you a good entrepreneur because you have ADHD, just there's more likely to be ADHD type entrepreneurs. It's just sometimes a lot of good entrepreneurs. What's the definition of good? Make a lot of money, multi-billionaire. And even that's all relative. So I hope, Paladar, I can answer your question. Do you have any suggestions on how to create a great work environment for people who are neurodiverse ADHD? This one's a little difficult for me to answer because I'm unemployable, I am unmanageable, and I'll never have a full-time job ever again. So for me as an ADHD person working for someone else, the only environment I can control is really my desk area. And what comfort factor do you have in your work environment to discuss ADHD or get accommodations for your ADHD? Now, I just learned a new tactic is, don't say I have ADHD, I need this. If you can spin off the presentation, hey, if I'm allowed to, not do this type of work, I can have more energy and focus on the stuff that's more impulsive day to day, changes day to day. And this can help you make more money or get your projects done quicker. We make it about the other person in the company as well. But the biggest thing in any ADHD environment is explaining to everyone and understanding ADHD or any neurodiversity. It doesn't be specific to ADHD. Is the culture you have to build is your number one is uniqueness. The unique person has the right to be themselves and able to work in the manner that they work best. A lot like my environment is I give you the task. I'm looking for the end result. I might provide a couple middle spots, but in the end, you do it how you do best, because I'm going to force it on you to change your mind every day how you're going to do it. It's not going to work. Some people, once they've set their plan, they have to finish it. And if me understanding going in every once in a while to mess that up actually distracts from it. Now, is ADHD part of it? It is. Is my two follow through and Colby part of it? It's a lot to do with that. But as long as everyone respects and understands how everyone works differently, neurotypicals all work differently, uniquely, even the neurodiverse. So it's got to be a safe environment to understand everyone's strengths, everyone's weaknesses, everyone's talents, and work around those and with those. So why would I give you a job if you're not good at when your person right beside you excels at it? Give that task to that person because they'll enjoy it. They'll do it quicker. You give it to the other person that doesn't enjoy it, you're going to have some frustration, and some people are not going to enjoy it. So in the end, it's all about accepting the differences. And I'm not talking about neurodivergence or anything else. It's just simply everyone is their unique self with their own unique set of talents. And they should be free. They must be free to do how they want to do it because they'll do it effectively. And they'll be surprised what they can do and achieve if you just let them to do it the way they work best. So another question we have here is, are there things you tell your kids who have ADHD to help them cope with school, friends, etc.? Yeah, I do that tremendously. Usually it comes into along the lines of social interaction. The impulsivity is one. And social convention, for some reason, it just doesn't, it eludes me. All these different rules we got to keep track. And in the end, I've always supported my kids to be their unique self. My oldest is a little more goofy, entertaining. She likes to have fun and be jovial, while my youngest is a little more, reserved, thinking like, very dry sense of humor. And we let them be who they are, even in public. Like I remember as a kid, like, okay, let's go in our pajamas to the store. We got to do a 2-hour grocery run. We want to go in our pajamas, and that's you too. Okay, right? Walking around in the pajamas at 4:00 in the afternoon at the grocery store. I don't want to raise my kids to say, no, you can't do that because, you can't be yourself because it might bother others or other people who see it as annoying. As long it's not annoying, but improper, as long as we're not bothering anyone, so what? If we bring smiles to other people, what's wrong with it? Some might scowl, some people might not like it. You know what? That's their problem. The ADHD side, I really explained to my girls and to I've talked to a lot of other kids for a lot of my friends or other entrepreneurial people. I've talked to the kids. In the end, ADHD is a brain wiring thing. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just, it functions differently. And not a lot of people understand it. We're starting to understand it as a difference, but you're just different. You're not more or better, or you're not better or less than other ones. It's just, impulsivity. Oops, you said it. It's impulsivity. It's not much you can do. It's your brain. That's it. It's your brain. You don't suck. You're not a bad person. It's just your brain inhibiting. So you said it. Just say you're sorry. I'm sorry. My brain didn't stop me. That's a lot of the explanation. Now, the other thing too is the school system is not set up for the ADHD brain. My kids need to move a lot. You're not supposed to move. You're supposed to sit, not fidget. And I have more conversation with teachers, and I also explain to my kids on how to advocate for them without using the labels. So I need to move. I need to focus. We got an arrangement. I think she was 8 at the time. She made an arrangement with her own teacher saying, I need to fidget so I can listen to you talk and learn. So the arrangement was she can fidget and play with stuff, but in her desk so that no one can see it. Okay. So there's always a will and a way. And I don't do the advocating for my kids to the teachers unless it's gone to a certain point where they don't want to listen to kids. So I coach my kids on how to communicate the vocabulary of ADHD without using the terms ADHD, and how to come up with resolutions and solutions or compromises as well. So how do you manage planning for the long term? I can't see beyond the end of the month. If you can see beyond the end of the month, awesome. You're doing great. My time horizon is a week and a half. Long-term planning has always been a challenge. One thing that does work is having your goals written down. So when I joined a business coaching program, we meet quarterly and we review the goals that we set. So a lot of stuff that we wrote the quarter before, we brought it with us to review. So constant reviewing of these long-term goals. Writing the stuff out is key. ADHD brains. This is the one thing I learned. My brain has a crap load of stuff going in all different directions, up and down, all over, okay? We think we're processing it in our head, but we're going nowhere. I think if you have ADHD, I think you can resonate with this, okay? So once it's written down or you talk out loud about it, it comes, so if you write it, it comes into your eyes now, came from your hands, goes into your eyes, into your brain, a different way now. Now your brain's going to say, well, I saw this as a completely different way now. Or if you talk out loud, it goes through your ears. Your brain's now heard it a different way. It's a different input. That's how you process it out. So we have to write our ideas down. We have to write down our goals down. We have to, the other thing too is the planning side, which is an executive functioning thing, is we need to step it out and has to be written down and written somewhere. Then it gets out of our head. We seem to process and understand it better. And that's one way. The other way is if you got your own company, you can do this. You use your teammates to help you achieve these long-term goals. They set the plans. They keep you accountable. They schedule regular meetings to go over the process, the progress. Man, even when I first started my company, Jade Engineers, I was using my clients to help me with my long-term goals. I was talking to them regularly. I share my long-term goals. And then they would say, hey, do you remember how you doing with that goal? How are you doing with that goal? So back then, I even found a little shortcut without realizing to work on my executive functioning differences in my working memory is talking to the clients regularly and sharing that. They would remind me. And that's how I was able to achieve a lot of the goals. But the key is for this is to write down stuff, to see it and put it somewhere. And it's amazing once you write it down, and you may not even look at the piece of paper for many months or years, but it's in the back of the head still stewing. And all of a sudden you notice, hey, I achieved all these goals that I set, but I don't remember setting them as goals. So that's what I really found is writing them down, put them in a spot. But I just started relying on other people who are better organized, and they keep you accountable, because the ADHD entrepreneur, we got a crap load of ideas. We got a lot of different ways. Every time I talk to a client, I see multiple ways to make money and to help and serve people. But then I need something to say, hey, you've got 200,000 goals already set. We got to achieve those first now. Or where's this one now in relation to the other? So you need to have the conversation. And the other thing we got to get out of the habit is we were raised and taught and told to succeed and be a superstar, you have to do everything yourself. You have to know everything yourself and not to rely on teamwork. I know for me, with the blue collar background being raised, is if I used other people to help me achieve my goals, that was a white collar thing, and therefore that's not proper. Use your team, hire people that are better than you in certain areas that you're not, right? I want to do a lot in 2025. I'm going to use my 2 team members. I'm going to spew out my goals and what I want to achieve. We're going to decide roughly what time frames we're going to set it in, and they're going to tell me, you can't do that. That's kind of like impossible to do, 4 books in a quarter. Maybe let's start with 1. Okay, maybe. Again, that's the time blindness, the time horizon. So we have a little challenge assessing a bunch of that stuff. So that's the one thing to do, is write down your goals and how to achieve them. And if they're long-term, which they're most, it's got to be written down, and use team members or other people to keep track of it. And then there's a lot of apps out there too that you can use to help you and keep it facing forward. So I apologize. I've just been reminded that we got a minute or 2 left, and to remind you that to please go to the impulsivethinker.com website. There's more information about me. My podcasts are all there. This year, I'm going to be working more on getting blogs out. And please continue to follow me on the YouTube channel. And please keep commenting and providing comments. I love receiving them. I'm guilty of not keeping up lately, but next year there's going to be a lot more time. I'm really here for you. I'd like this to be a quarterly or regular event. So if you got any more questions, please post it on this one, on this chat here. Even if it's in the review stage or post live stage, we'll get back to you. But please go to the website, theimpulsivethinker.com. Please subscribe to this channel and follow me on LinkedIn too, and I'm doing stuff there. So thank you for everyone who attended, and I hope this was helpful. We'll take care of you, and thanks again for learning with me. Take care.